call the opening meeting for the public school board meeting for Suffolk City Schools to session. Everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
May we stand, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
You may be seated.
We have certification of the closed meeting, please.
Resolution of certification of the closed meeting of May 11th, 2017 pursuant to Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended.
So moved. Second.
Board Member Bouchard.
Yes.
Board Member Brooks-Buck.
Yes.
Board Member Byram.
Yes.
Board Member Mitnick.
Yes.
Board Member Skeeter.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Copeland.
Aye.
Chairman Dobransky.
Yes.
Motion carried.
We have no public speakers on agenda topics. Is that correct?
That's correct.
We will go to reports by the superintendent.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. As you can see, the first item on the reports by the superintendent is the new school construction update. I'm going to call to the podium Mr. Terry Napier. Sorry, my mic was off. I'm going to call to the podium Mr. Terry Napier, who will give us an update on our 2 schools in the northern end. Mr. Napier.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I believe the paper copy of this starts on page 16 of your board book, if you'd like to follow along there. We are going to update you on both the elementary school and the middle school. And there it is. Come a long way. What do you think?
I think it's a good picture.
Yeah. We're almost there. Project status at this point for the elementary school. And I'm going to run through this rather quickly. If you have any questions, please let me know. Concrete slab work on grade. On grade is concrete that's on the ground. That's 100% complete at the elementary. The concrete stage is 100%. That was completed last week. CMU, which is the center block walls. Overall, we're at 70%, which is good. CMU to 4 feet above first floor, 100% in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Those are the back areas behind the office, the gymnasium, classroom rings back in the back. CMU in the gym, that's at 99%. The only 1% remaining is around the steel joists that are up on the top where they're putting the roof in. CMU in phase 4, which is the office area, that's at 30% at this point. If you've been out there lately, you've noticed brick veneer on the gymnasium. If you're at the front of the school on the left-hand side, we've started putting up the brick. It's complete on that west wall, and it's going around the back of the building, and it'll continue until we get back around to the front. So we've just gotten started on that, but that's going to go rather quickly now. Steel framing, it's 100% in phase 1, which is the gym area. Steel decking is 40% on top of the gym, so we have a roof going on now. Steel framing, 40% in phase 2, which is the classroom area behind it. And then steel joist and decking for SOD. SOD is slab on deck. That's a second floor. That's 50% in phase 2, so that's coming along as well. Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. We have our pump package in now. Our pump package is what supplies hot and cold water to all of our mechanical equipment that's in. It's been pushed inside the mechanical room, so that's good. All the rooftop units, that's the HVAC units, they've arrived. Some of those are on site. 2 of the 3 air handlers are also on site. The roof on the low roof on the west side of the gym is ongoing, but that is almost complete at this point. Project status to date, we're at 37% on the elementary school as of last week. So that's not bad. Major work going on in the, you know what? I forgot to even do this. Major work scheduled for the next 2 months. Complete decking on the gym, complete steel in phase 1, complete the slab on decking in phase 2, which is the upstairs portion, begin steel in phase 3, start the center block walls to full height in phase 2, complete the roof on the gym, install the BMP perimeter fence. I told you 2 months ago we were putting the fence up. That had to be delayed. We had to get MSA, our civil contractor, out there to do some layout for us, but that's ready to go now, so that should be going up very soon. There is a picture of the gym and cafeteria area as of about a week and a half ago. So as you can see, we have the roof going on. So we're pleased with that. If you're looking straight up now, you can see the sky. If you go in there now, you wouldn't be able to do that. So a lot of that roof deck is already on. That's a first grade classroom that's already been framed up on the inside. So we got a lot of that in there that you can't even see from the street. So there's a lot going on in there that you can't see unless you go in there. First grade classrooms without the partition walls. That's a stage area in the cafeteria. That was poured about a week ago, so that's ready to go. There's the brick on the west side of the gym wall and mechanical room. So that's what the finished product will look like when we get it completely around. There's the front elevation. You can see the roof on the gymnasium. There's the pond, and we have grass around that now, so that's good. We also have geese living there. I don't know that that's so good.
They stay close to the pond, it is.
Oh, they do. They like it.
Because when they get on the sidewalks,
Yeah,
that term loose as a goose.
it's rather messy.
Yes.
All right, Colonel Fred Cherry Middle School. Project status at the middle school at this point. Area B, CMU bearing walls 100%. Again, that's cinder block walls. CMU interior partitions, that's at 85%. That's the interior walls in Area B. Area B is right there where the gymnasium is. Brick veneers at 20%. We actually have some brick on the front of that. If you're standing in front of the building facing the gym looking to the right, there's already brick going up there as well. Steel framing in Area B is 100%. Steel joist and decking 75%. Mechanical, electrical, plumbing, rough-in, that's all ongoing. That's Area B. Area C1, which is back behind it, CMU bearing walls at 75%, steel joist and deck 70%. So all of these are good numbers. Area C2, concrete slab on grade, that's 100%. Masonry bearing walls 75. Area D, concrete slab on grades 100. Bearing walls are 50% in Area D. Site work, the bus loop and the parking lot stone subbase, that's at 100%. So we haven't put any of the asphalt down at the middle school yet. We have it at the elementary. Our superintendent at the middle school has elected to wait on that. So we follow whatever he says. Utility works at 90%, the curb and gutters at 40% at the middle school. Major work schedule for the next month. Complete the steel joist and deck in areas B and C1. We're going to begin steel joist and deck in area C2. We're going to continue center block walls in area A, B, C1, and D. We will begin putting roofing on in area B. We will complete the gymnasium slab on grade. We're going to pour slab on deck, which is the second floor again, in area C1. And we will begin the exterior blocking area C1, all that within the next month. There's a picture of the front elevation if you're looking at the gymnasium. You can see the brickwork that's going on behind that scaffolding. There's a look at it from the back side of the cafeteria if you're standing in the bus loop. That's also a rear view where that's actually the first, if you're standing behind the building to your left, I believe that's the 6th grade wing. There will be 3 more that look just like that. And this is about a week ago, and I was out there this morning, and all that steelwork's actually up. It's finished at this point. So they're moving along pretty quick with this. There's another look back towards the classroom wings from the bus loop facing the cafeteria. A rear elevation again. There's a front elevation directly in front of the gym standing in the parking lot. That's inside the gym. We were in there about a week ago with Dr. Whitney, and even since then they've come a long way. There's a cafeteria looking towards the dining area. And I think when you get a chance and we take you out there, I think you're going to be amazed at how open this whole design is. You can look up in the cafeteria. It's close to 40 feet. It's really quite a sight. There's the interior area of the cafeteria, and you can see how high up that goes. and it'll stay like that. Cafeteria looking towards the gym, and those are the classroom rings on the right. That's actually the main, what they refer to as Main Street. It runs from one end of the building to the other, and it goes all the way down through there. And that's Area A looking back towards the cafeteria. At this point, substantial completion dates. The elementary school is about April 23rd, somewhere in that third week towards the end of April. A substantial completion date right now for the elementary school is late May. We have had some weather days, but keep in mind that the contractor at the outset of the project, he calculated weather days, depending on which month it is. They range from about 4 to about 8 per month. So we really haven't lost but about 5 days total, which is really good at this point in the project. Normally we're further behind, but right now the time frame's looking very good. The middle school, by the way, elementary's at 37%, middle school's at 32%.
Wow.
Okay.
So we're moving along.
How did the Florence Bowser property hold up to those 4 days straight of rain? Was it?
It did very well. We filled the pond up, was exactly what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
There's a second tier that's built into that pond. We came up into that a little bit, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. So the whole drainage system that's been put in underneath, we don't have that flooding problem there that we had before. That's gone.
That's great.
And we did it all on site because there was no city stormwater there, so we had to create that pond to do it ourselves, basically.
Yeah.
And it works very well.
Great. That's great.
Yeah.
Any other questions, board members? Comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Whitney.
Yes, next on the list, you can see community service hours. I just wanted to give you an update. We're going to call Dr. Bird, the Director of Secondary Leadership, to share with you a brief overview as to where we are as far as community service hours. I know that's of much interest to many. Dr. Bird.
Thank you. Greetings, members of the board and Dr. Whitney. This is going to be a brief presentation of community service updates. It looks very similar to the past 3 that we have done. So here's just a reminder of the requirements. And I want to jump right into where we stand right now. So what you can see is our numbers have greatly improved. These are the number of students, percent of students who have some community service hours. 81% Kings Fork High School, 96 Nansemond River, and 90 at Lakeland. When we look at students who have completed all hours, you can see right now, if you add those up, we are at about 83% division-wide. Earlier today, after putting these numbers together, I was also informed that we do have some situations where students do not have to meet the full requirements. An example would be a student who transferred in. Right. So with that realization, I predict that when we go back and calculate those students who have met their adjusted community service hours, that we'll be closer to the 89% division-wide.
And as you can see, while we still have a ways to go, you can see the increase that has occurred. We also have some things that are still taking place. The students have almost a month left to continue to earn. What we're finding also, in some instances, students have earned hours they simply had not recorded. And so we're looking forward to meeting the goal of having 100% by all means, or finding out why they have not met it and dealing with it accordingly.
You have a recommendation for us by the end of the year, right?
A recommendation in
Yes.
reference to?
This program.
Yes, I continue to recommend that we do it. We may have some changes. We'll share with you the changes as far as what we're going to do to ensure students don't necessarily wait till the last minute, but we certainly will share with that.
And I'd just like to say, I hope that we will not entertain the idea of waivers. I just feel strongly that those students who have earned their community service hours, we'd be doing a disservice to them if we started providing waivers to students who haven't taken the initiative and done their community service.
Thank you.
Well, maybe there could be a community service summer school.
That's a good.
Living high school.
Post-graduation community service summer school.
Any other questions for Dr. Bird?
No.
Thank you, Dr. Bird.
Thank you.
And the last item, as far as the reports by the superintendent, is on page 32. We have a calendar of special events, as we do each month. May 23rd, we have the Superintendent's Star Award reception, in which we recognize several staff members who have been nominated by their peers as far as going beyond the call of duty. That reception will take place on the 23rd. Retirement banquet, again at the Hilton Garden Inn, will be June 1st, where we honor all of those who are retiring this school year. And of course, graduations on June 10th. At 9 o'clock, we'll have Nasman River, Lakeland High School at 12, King's Fork at 3, and of course, each of those will be held at the Ted Constant Center. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay, I'd like to ask board members to refer to the consent agenda at this time and take a few minutes to look at it, see if anything needs to be moved.
Dr. Whitney, will there be a PTA dinner this year?
PTA council dinner, we have not received a date yet. Ms. Bradshaw, have you received anything?
They're not having one this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, don't forget, the May 25th is the IB banquet, too?
Yes, yes. In fact, I think that conflicts with the Lakeland High School Awards night, unfortunately, but hopefully we'll have representation at both of those events.
Consent agenda, anything to be moved? If not, we'll go ahead and have a motion to accept it.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second?
Board Member Bouchard.
Yes?
Board Member Brooks-Buck.
Yes.
Board Member Byram.
Yes?
Board Member Mitnick.
Yes.
Board Member Skeeter.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Copeland.
Aye.
Chairman Dobransky.
Yes.
Motion carried.
I'd like to ask Dr. Whitney if he'd consider getting the bills and payroll for April to the city council.
Give a copy of the bills?
Yes.
Certainly. Yes, we
Okay.
can do that.
Good.
Unfinished business.
Unfinished business. School board approved financial plan for 2000.
The one thing I'd like to mention about the financial plan, of course, we keep this under unfinished business until we have an adopted budget. While you recognize that you have approved the budget, we have had a number of teacher input sessions and had sessions where we've talked to individual staff members as well. And perhaps one of the main concerns that we have heard, the repeated concerns with the proposed or the approved, that you have approved teacher salary scale, is the differentiated salary increases based on years of experience. As you may recall, the scale that you have approved is the actual scale that shows the beginning teachers have a larger increase, I think about 5%. It would be my recommendation, listening to our staff members, listening to teachers, and having some conversations with some of you, that whatever we determine as far as a increase for teachers, that we do a flat increase across the board for all teachers. Now, while that will not address our efforts as far as recruitment is concerned, I think it sends the message that we're not valuing one area of teachers as far as years of experience over another. So again, realizing that we don't know just yet how much the City Council will include or approve, but whatever that is, that amount will go towards the raises. And again, coupled with the 2.5 for support staff, whatever we're able to do across the board for teachers, it'll be a flat increase as well.
Dr. Whitney?
Yes.
How do we go about changing that? I mean, we voted one way,
Right.
but to change that, what are we going to do?
Once we determine what the city is going to give us, I'll come with a recommendation on the special call meeting. And at that particular time, you can either vote for it, against it, make a suggestion, or give me other directions.
Okay, thank you.
The question that I have is, what will it do with the pay scale? We went through $80,000 worth of study and whatever to make recommendations. How will that affect the pay scale? Because I know that we had the group that was 6 through 10 years that we were trying to move up to make sure they weren't lagging behind. And I know there were some other things that we wanted to do with other employees, but how will that impact
Well,
the different groups that we have?
Sure.
Because in upping one and downing the other, we have some imbalance there.
Well, fortunately, we addressed the compression that had taken place when we addressed it, I think, in 14-15,
Right.
where we addressed those years of experience from, I think it was about 6 through 12. So we addressed that to where there was not, it was more competitive when we look at other divisions. Each year, as I propose increase for our teachers, that is what was a part of the plan to gradually increase our teachers' salary, which we've included in the budget, but it hasn't always been approved because of lack of funding. What this will do is it will bump everyone up. So as we know the teacher scale now, it will look different. It will be increased by the amount that we give everyone.
Right. Okay.
Again, beginning salaries won't be as competitive because that was my desire originally. But again, it will give everyone an increase, and it will be a lot more balance as far as that
Okay.
increase is concerned.
So we won't be creating disparities in other areas.
And then we also have the step raises that are back in place since the recession, right?
Well, when we talk about a flat rate, while teachers will step, it won't be a step from the current scale that we know. We would have to adjust the scale and place them on the appropriate step. So in
Right.
other words, it won't be if we were to do a step increase right now, it varies as far as how much each teacher gets, because each
Right.
step may vary. Not each step, but some steps vary. But if we do across the board, everyone will receive the same percentage of an increase.
Right, but I mean, if someone is due for a step increase, that still takes place, correct or not?
No, not if we do across the board flat increase.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Which in some instances, depending on how much we do, could be more than what that step increase would be. It just depends on how much we're able to do. And I can't say until we find out exactly what we receive from the city.
okay.
But that step increase would be in effect after this year regardless, would it not, for every year and thereafter?
No, we can't say thereafter because it depends on how much money we're dealing with, what we get from the state, and of course what we get from the city. But I will say this, throughout my tenure of the 7 years, I think only 2 of those years I have not included an increase for teachers. So, I know that your priority, as is mine, is to increase our teachers' salaries. And when we do ask for additional funding from the city, it is specifically for teachers' salaries, and it will continue to be that way.
Okay.
And just one thing, I know it's very hard for people to realize that 85% of the budget is salary and benefits. Is that, and so when you're talking about what is left over to be managed, that's 15% of the entire budget.
Okay. Having that been said, we'll go to the public speakers on non-agenda items. If we have any, please come up here, state your name, your address, and,
Did you want Cindy to?
yes, I want this clerk to go ahead and read the recommendations that will be held in place during this hearing.
This is an opportunity for the public to share comments with the school board regarding agenda or non-agenda topics and items. The school board will not respond to your comments at this time. No derogatory comments may be directed to or about any specific person. You must limit your comments to 5 minutes. If you're unable to complete your comments within that time period, you're more than welcome to submit something in writing that will be shared with the board members. So anyone wishing to speak may come forward at this time.
Good evening, school board members, superintendent. My name is Angelo Stone. I'm here to represent the Bus Drivers Association on tonight. I heard y'all talking a while ago about the teachers, but I'm here about the bus drivers. And I want to know what's in the plan for the bus drivers on next year. Been going to the meetings down there from city council. And listen to them, they have been very generous to y'all over the years for us giving money for the schools. And I went back and pulled up the last 7 years of the budget and saw a lot of money that was given. In 2010, 2011, $120 million. 2012, $121 million. 2013, $139 million. 2013, $14 million. 2015, $151 million. And 17, $156 million. Transportation got $9 million. The following year, they got $8 million. It went down to $7 million. The following year, it went down to $7 million. The following year, it went down to $7 million. I noticed our surrounding cities like Portsmouth just trying to deal with $1 million. With all this money, didn't anything trickle down to the bus drivers? And I don't understand. They're talking about a proposed budget. Now, I know I was at the meeting at Prudence Center, and the young lady, the lady showed the financial that she's been coming down the scale for the bus drivers, but we haven't seen any results of that. And we've been trying to get some of you to come to our meetings that we have a board that we want y'all to talk to us, and what we want to sound to decide what the bus drivers should get. Now you have less drivers now. Well, like I said, when I come in 2010, you had 225 drivers. Now you're down to probably now about 120. I think 7 drivers left not too long ago. Possibility by the time school starts next year, y'all might be down to about 100 drivers. So if y'all don't have to give any incentives to draw bus drivers here, you're going to be short and kids are not going to be able to get to school. And seeing things I've seen, money being wasted, like those, especially those tablets that they bought that they did not use on all the buses. And then those buses that sat still, like I said, for almost a whole year, and buses breaking down, and kids were getting to school late. That made no sense to me. When you have brand new buses sitting still and kids getting to school late, when you could have put those on the road, and they didn't put them on the road till 2016 during the summer. So I'm looking that y'all will please come and talk to us, and so we can let y'all know just what the bus drivers need and what the things that we want to have a decent living. Like I said before, you know, a driver can't live off of $290 a month. No way. By the time Social Security kick in, he might get about $1,100 a month. They can't live off of that. No way. Now, I've been here 7 years. The sub increase had moved, I think, 23 cents. I'm making $11.71 an hour. You got drivers been here 10 years just about making $1 more than me in 10 years. To me, that's not appropriate. Then they're talking about cutting their insurance. And you have drivers, when they retire from here, they won't have any benefits. That's not fair either. So I wish y'all would kind of looking out for the bus drivers, because we're the foundation. And right now, the drivers are getting on the edge again, that they don't see anything that's coming towards them. Now, next year, they're talking about giving, they were promised a $500 bonus fee at the beginning of the year. Here it is May, they haven't seen half of that money. But the moment they had the sick out, the coordinator come to me and say, well, we have the $250. Now they won't get that until August. Now they're talking about giving $1,000 next year for bonus money. Now I just exaggerated the numbers a little bit. You get 40 drivers to get that $1,000. That's $40,000. Now if you don't have money to give us a raise now, where are you gonna get $40,000 at? If all the drivers participate to get that $1,000 bonus. So a lot of promises have been made to us, but we haven't had any concrete of what we're going to get next year when the school season starts. So I'm asking y'all to please look into the budget next year to get the drivers, not a 2% raise. We should deserve higher than that. Now you got 6 dispatchers, 6 dispatchers in the office now dealing with just 120 drivers. When you had 225, you only had 3 dispatchers in there. They got a raise also. I don't think that's fair either. So why do you need 6 when you only have 120 drivers? Well, you got secretary, she does it sometimes too, so I count her as 6. Because she calls to dispatch and tells us when kids need to go back and be picked up when they said we missed them. So still 5. You don't need to me, I don't see why you need 5 in there with 120 drivers now, and you're steady getting short. So I don't know how many you plan next year you're going to have in there, but we are kind of listening, like I said, a bunch of promises, what they're going to give us next year, and we're not seeing anything concrete. So we want to ask y'all to please come and sign and talk to us, our staff, so we can show you what we want as bus drivers that we can make a decent living when we retire from here. 290, like I say, is not enough. That's a 20-year driver. So you add another 10 years of that, maybe they might get $500 or $600 a month. That's just from retirement. That's not counting the Social
30
Security.
seconds, please.
So please, come hear us out. Hear us out, our staff, what we want to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Anybody else to speak on the budget?
Hi, good evening. My name is Natalie Rotzler. I'm a teacher at Forest Glen. My address is 108 Lakeview Road, Forest Glen Drive, 108 Lakeview Road, Franklin, Virginia. Normally 200 Forest Glen Drive is where I stay. First of all, good evening, and I'd like to thank all of you that have taken your personal time out to come meet with me at my school or wherever it is that we've had time to meet. You know that once, I don't know where to start because there are so many issues that I see in Suffolk Public Schools. But once I get on a roll, I might go over my 5 minutes, but don't forget I'm a parent too, so can I have 10? So where I want to start first is that it's often said that the teachers don't come out of the woodwork until it's time for the budget meetings and the salaries are discussed. And you're correct. For most of us, we're still in teacher mode, not just at school. We're home doing the things great teachers do. We multitask our chores at home. We help our own children with homework, take care of our pets, answer emails and texts from parents and students, grade papers, prepare lessons, hopefully catch a glimpse of the news, and praying one of our students aren't on the news. So now I've been here. You've seen me. You've offered me suggestions. I've been willing to work with you, and I've realized something in the past 2 months. It doesn't really matter who I meet with or where we meet. There's a blame game in Suffolk. City council and school board blame each other. School administrative offices blame each other or principals. Specialists and principals blame each other. Teachers, yep, we're in there too. It's time that we stop blaming and we start working together. Last week I spoke to City Council. I've asked them to meet with us. Tonight I ask you the same. I know there have been several offers to meet at a neutral location, yet no one has taken us up on that offer. So tonight I'm going to use this time to remind you that before we make that final vote on Thursday, that you consider the following. 15 years ago when I started in Suffolk, I replaced Jennifer Presson so she could become a lead teacher. In the years that followed, she did just that. She led us in the areas that we were the weakest. Since then, we have restructured, and somehow that position was created to be an instructional support position, became one that is mainly administrative. We're not fully accredited, yet we do not have instructional support in our schools. We take SOLs in May and June, and there's plenty of time for those who hold the titles of specialists to look at citywide data and help us where we struggle. Trust me, I know the reply. I've heard it. But please play along with me. Don't you think that if I knew how to teach my weaker strands, I would do it? Why have we created these positions if they're going to sit in meetings, organize meetings, and have teachers look at curriculum in meetings when that's what we really need? We need modeled lessons, we need strategies, we need activities for the SOL strands that we're not passing. Why are we still, as of yesterday, still sending tests with errors? Did you know the Science 6 benchmark that was given yesterday had 8 questions on the test that were testing SOLs that are paced out to be tested later this 9 weeks? Why do we keep including steps when we really aren't using them? Why are we playing middle school sports at the high schools when the fields are not ready for us? Please tell me how fair it is to play football on a soccer field that has only been marked with movable line markers and no painted lines. If you can't imagine, I'll be happy to show you the pictures of the 10-yard marker 5 yards from the goal and the 50-yard line somewhere closer to the other team's 40. Do teachers get a bonus for just showing up? I keep hearing that bus drivers are going to get a bonus. I come to work. We do our jobs. We need to make things fair in our city. Why do certain schools have an automated answering system to direct calls to the nurse, cafeteria guidance, and main office, but some schools do not? Why has no official memo been sent out to staff about travel reimbursement? I must say I do appreciate the 27-page document that was sent out to staff today answering some of our concerns. But as you know, some of those answers were entirely accurate and some quite textbooky. So if you go to page 3, number 8, it revisits the blame game. Supervisors do not have budget money. I understand that. Principals have complete control over the money that they're given. The bookkeeper divides it up. So here's my rough estimate from this year. History at Forest Glen got approximately $280. That's $94 for each teacher. So for every 8th grade student, I could have spent 68 cents. In reading, we had approximately $82 for each of the 7 teachers. That's $1.18 per student. Special ed, our biggest concern. Who's not passing our SOLs? $179. In 8th grade, that's 38 cents per student to purchase a resource. When I look at numbers like that, we all need to come up with an answer. It is not just one person to blame it on, but I can't purchase an $8 textbook on 38 cents per student for these students that are struggling in our building. So let's get real. I've waited years and the compensation study finally proved what we deserved, but it seems that every time we restructure SAO, those salaries are funded immediately. I've looked at the budget. I've seen errors in the budget. Check page 104 that still says that we have a deputy superintendent. And yes, I know that humans make errors. I will continue to ask you about them, but it's time to start putting the money and the support back where it belongs, to our schools and more importantly, our students. So again, I ask you on Thursday when you vote next week in the band room that you vote for fully funding us in our classes, in our buildings. Thank you.
Would you like to speak next?
I would like to hand these to the board if someone would facilitate that for me.
Your name, please, ma'am.
I'm Sherry Story. I teach here at Kings Fork High School. I teach IB biology. I teach 9th, 11th, and 12th. I'm also a Suffolk taxpayer. I reside at 4429 Cherokee Drive in Suffolk. Good evening. Well, it's been an interesting time this past 2 months for all the stakeholders in education, I would say, in Suffolk. One of my primary focuses as a science teacher for 12 years in the district and 4 years now as a taxpayer is to see for funding in the classroom, especially for science. I have handed out to you, because I don't expect you to know this, but these are the science standards for learning from the VDOE. These science standards are set for practicing science. They're called science practices. The VDOE has them. The National NGSS has them. The IB has practicing science standards. The AP has practicing science standards. They expect students to practice science. As you can see, it is graded. And as you can see, let me explain that it goes K through 6, obviously. LS is life science. PS is physical science, which would incorporate our middle schools. And then earth science, biology, chemistry, and physics. As you see from the first 2 here, especially, these are for practicing science that you need to be in the laboratory. There are 7 pages that the VDOE expects students in the state of Virginia to be practicing science. The first page of the VDOE says, students will be able to achieve the following objectives: develop and use an experimental design in scientific inquiry and investigate phenomena using technology. They really do expect us practicing science. In fact, it's a mandate. Now, practicing science definitely requires equipment, doesn't it? You don't practice science with a workbook. You don't practice science with worksheets. You practice science with laboratory equipment and technology and probeware. I really appreciate what Natalie just shared about the other sciences. But let me focus on science. Nasman River High School, 2015. $1,292 was appropriated in their high school for 1,493 students, 86 cents per student. Lakeland High School, 2015, $1,965. They are the winner. They appropriated $1.90 per student to practice science. Let's go to Forest Glen Science because you didn't hear them about science. 2015, according to the document, $238 was appropriated for science for 439 students that must take science every year. That's 53 cents per student. Do you think students are practicing science? How about JFK? Their audit reports that $198.36 was given to science for 528 students. Well, that comes to a whopping 37 cents per student for science. Then we have John Yates. Well, in 2015, they appropriated $684 for their 1,200 students at 55 cents. But unfortunately, in 2016, they had to save money, evidently, because they appropriated $453 for 1,200 students, and that's 37 cents per student. But you know what really taking the cake feeding into Kings Fork High School? From the audit, Kings Fork Middle School, in 2015, appropriated $130 for science for 1,011 students. That's 13 cents a student. Do you think they are practicing science with lab equipment? Are you funding VDOE requirements for these science teachers? Are you doing that? I've talked with you in multiple years, Ms. Bouchard, about this problem, and I asked you to look into it. I've talked with you, Mr. Dobransky. I've talked with you. I have begged you to look into the fact that money is not being appropriated for science investigation. I spoke with you, Superintendent, with another teacher, and I showed you some of these numbers. And all of you had said, we'll look into it. What does that mean?
30 seconds.
What does that mean?
30 seconds, Ms. Story. You're not allowed to do that.
I've sat with you. Now let me read this from your audits. In 2013 and 14, each high school was given $50,000 to their athletic fund, with athletic funds that already had $50,000 in them. In 2014 and 15, each high school was given $100,000 into their athletic fund, raising Kings Fork Athletic Fund to over $200,000. And in 2015 and 16, each high school got $50,000 for new band uniforms. And I've checked into other districts, and they earn that money through booster clubs. You know what? Chesapeake has smart boards in their rooms, but they don't fund band uniforms.
Ms. Story, you're over your time, please.
You're not funding the VDOE, and you're not listening, and maybe Ann Peterson, I know her over the science of VDOE. Is that where I have to go next? Because I will. I agree with the city council. Where is the money? It's sitting.
Ms.
Kings
Story.
Fork has $484,000 sitting in its bank account. Mr. Mitnick, that is not grants and activity funds, okay? There is no club earning $100,000 a year. Trust me.
Ms. Story.
Yes. I think if the Senate can yield 5 minutes, the school board can. You know, I want to talk to city council because Mr. Fawcett suggested that us teachers need to stand up. We are trying, Mr. Fawcett. We are trying our little hearts out here to stand up and get money into our classrooms. But city council members, I want to speak to you if anyone's listening. You are city citizens that can request audits from each of these schools. Stop looking at the big pie picture and look at school audits and look where that money is. Suffolk News Herald, you should be doing this research. If you have on one hand in your city someone saying we're giving all this money and the city and the school system says we don't have any money to spend, there is a disconnect. Why are you not researching and investigating this, Suffolk News Herald? That's your public duty to investigate where this money is. The money is sitting, a lot of it, in athletics. You know, I know it's been asked of you, Dr. Whitney, to have, which I don't think is needed, but it's been requested that there be a lab fee. Oh, we don't want to charge a lab fee to do science. But yet you'll charge and you'll allow for club, for the student, like the seniors, they're charged $60 for senior fees, for parties and t-shirts. And there's gym uniforms, there's rentals, there's a charge for everything. But you won't have a lab fee? With this kind of money sitting, and if people look at the audits, there's no need for a lab fee. It is not going where it's supposed to be going. And the blame game? Here's the blame game. This is a merry-go-round. We'll look into it. Okay, we'll have the superintendent look into it. The superintendent has his supervisors look into it. Supervisors say, we're not in charge of money. Principals say, well, the teachers aren't asking for it. The teachers are saying, well, the principals don't give us any money. They tell us there's no money. It is just a mess.
Ms. Story, you've had an excess of 10 minutes. So you have used your time and the other person's time. If you'd like to submit the rest of your comments in writing, you're more than welcome to do so.
Parents, request those audits. If you're listening to me, request those audits from every single school to see where your school is putting money. On every single school page, web page, there should be the school audit, not the budget,
Story,
big budget with pictures.
Ms. Story, your time is up.
The
Thank you.
school.
Thank you.
The
Thank you.
school audit needs to be on those pages.
Thank you. Anybody else? You can't do that, ma'am. You can't give her 5 minutes and talk as well.
No, she's not. She's going to let Ms. Story go.
I wanted to talk, but you need to hear this, and I want to hear this. My name is Cleo Johnson, 515 Beacon Court, and I Virginia.
Okay, Ms. Story, you may continue.
Please, parents, look at the school audits and find out where that money is. If you look at this video, I hope every every parent goes into their school. There's 3 years of audits sitting in every school with a bookkeeper. It's by law. Go ask for them and see where the money is not going to children for English, social studies, history, and science. STEM, how important is STEM for the future of these children? That's where our jobs are. Science, technology, math. And yet we're giving cents. What are we doing for our children? We are not preparing them. It takes money, and the money needs to get to them. I love athletics. My son was an NCAA tennis player. Don't think I don't love athletics, but you had enough money to give $50,000, $100,000 to every high school. That's $600,000. Where did that come from? I want another thing to ask you. You know the budgets that you get handed? Do you know if the public goes and asks to see that budget, that packet? Do you know athletics is mentioned nowhere? It's never mentioned once in that budget. Do we not have athletics? That budget is willfully poor in explaining where the money goes. That's not right. Have you ever asked to see a school audit? Have you ever asked to see the school's audit and look at what's being appropriated per student? Have you? I can't believe you have. I can't believe you, who want the best for education, have ever looked at those school audits to see where the money is sitting. Why are we charging seniors $60 for a fee, and then they leave behind $14,000 in a senior account? Why are you charging them for that? To only leave it behind. My gosh, one of the Kings Fork accounts had $32,000 left behind in it. But did they practice science? Did they get to work with technology and probeware in earth science and biology? No. No, because we don't even have it yet. Our earth science doesn't have technology. It's in there. You have to fund it. It's VDOE. Please, I believe your hearts are right, but you're not looking in the right spots. And those principals who get it and don't dispense it to teachers, if I could have a malpractice, an educational malpractice suit against them, I would. Just don't know how to go about doing it. That's educational malpractice. To get $40,000, $50,000, $25,000 and give English 238 of it? What in the world are we doing? That's educational malpractice. You can't do that to teachers. You can't. We're trying our very best. We need your support. I beg you. Figure this out. Get those audits in front of you. Call for a camp. Call for a finance camp with all of you. Look at those audits. And get the money to teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dorr. Next, please. Anybody else to speak on the budget?
No, they gotta go. She's good.
Good evening,
Good evening.
school board members, Dr. Whitney. My name is Sandra Wright. I live at 211 Widgeon Court. I haven't attended a lot of these. I should have over the 20 years that I've been working for Suffolk School Boards, for Suffolk Schools. I am a bus driver. I am going to read what the lady that gave me her spot, what she was going to ask first. And she says, my question is this. In reference to the annual school bus contracts, Which department has the responsibility of writing and determining the terms of the bus driver's contracts? Who is the point of contact? I'd like to know that myself. What are the guidelines for determining the terms of the contract? For example, getting paid for all time spent with the bus, maintenance. 2, compensation for extra runs. She also asks, is there a representative included to advocate on the behalf of the bus drivers when contracts are written? If not, what is the criteria for having one included for future bus driver contracts? Who determines how much we get? Some say that bus drivers over 17 years, I was seeing a paper that was floating around, I'm not sure if it's correct because I didn't do the research, but it said it takes 17 years to be a bus driver to make 20, no, I'm sorry. What did it say?
17
How many years? 10 to 15 years to make $17 an hour as a bus driver. I've been driving for 20 years and I don't make $20 an hour. I'm quite under that. Now, what I want to tell you is I have 2 children that went through this system. My daughter graduated in 2010. My son graduated in 2006. My son went on to do the apprentice school at Newport News. My daughter went on to do Pruden and got an associate's. I'm proud of my children. I don't think I would like my children to be in the school system today, because that was 7 years ago when apparently funds were still appropriated the right way. Apparently they're not now. I'm not saying you're not doing your job, but maybe you've gotten comfortable and we're just pushing papers. Because I used to be real good at pushing papers in the Air Force. I knew how to do it really well. We are not stupid people. I didn't say that you said we were stupid, and we don't have blinders on anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't do the research like a lot of these people have done, you need to start, or you need to find somebody that knows how to do it. Because there's a lot of red flags going on. And Suffolk is in the news all the time, and it's not good anymore. We hire people to do things that we don't need them to do. When I became a bus driver, we had 1 dispatcher, we had 1 dispatcher, we had 1 secretary, and we had 1 supervisor. That's it. And they handled, I think it was probably about 100 drivers. We have 5 individuals down in transportation right now to answer phones, talk on the radio, assign different routes. We're still taxi drivers. Bus so-and-so, did you stop at so-and-so? Yes, I did. I sat there for a minute. I opened my door. I need you to go back. Why? We were there. We were there on time. You just told me I was there on time. Why do I have to go back? I can't help it that parent does not have transportation to get that child to school. That child should have been at the bus stop. There are so many things on a daily basis. Today, this afternoon, a person on West Washington Street ran a red light. There was a car in front of me. I was on West Constance. I was getting ready to take a left-hand turn. I had 70-some kids on my bus because I do drive a huge bus, and it was elementary. I had to slam on my brakes. It took me a good 5 minutes to find out if everybody on my bus was okay because I couldn't hear them because they were upset, they were excited, whatever, anxious. Our buses are overloaded. We're underpaid. We're underappreciated. And we're getting angry. And I'm sorry, I'm being honest. We are getting angry because we're seeing the same thing happen every year now. And we're tired of seeing it. And I get up every day as a new day. Johnny might have had a rough day on my bus yesterday afternoon. This morning's a new day. Johnny's going to get on the bus this morning. I'm going to look over at Johnny as he gets on my bus, and I'm going to say, "Good morning, Johnny. How you doing today?" Johnny plucked my nerves yesterday. We care about our students. We try not to take our anger out on our students of what we can't control. But ladies and gentlemen up there, you can control where this money goes, and you can tell the principals or suggest to the principals where they should have it go, and you can hold them accountable. Because believe me, we've been going to city council members and meetings, and we know how much money is coming to the school board to appropriate for our whole system. And it's a lot of money. And there's so many areas that need the money that aren't getting it. So I know my time's almost up, and I'm not going to ask for any more. But ladies and gentlemen, we care about our kids. We care what kind of education they get, even though all we do is drive a bus. That's all we do. We're not a nurse, we're not a teacher, we're not a counselor. At least we don't have the degrees. We don't have the degrees for that. But we do stuff like that on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else to speak on the budget? Anybody else to speak on the budget?
Hi, I'm Dina Green. I'm a bus driver and a parent, 119 Lakefront Drive. I speak on behalf of the blame. That's what I get and that's what I see. I see a lot of reactive behavior here and not proactive behavior. And to give you an example, today we're told on our radio on the bus that there's an email sent out to us for all of our Q&As for our superintendent meeting. That's today. The meeting is today. We barely had time to review it. That's obviously intentional. That is very poor planning. And with as many degrees that are floating around here and planning, I don't understand that. Secondly, the reactive behavior is, before I came to this meeting, I get a robocall from my supervisor telling me next week is SOL week. That's understood too. He's worried about drivers being out. You don't have to be worried about drivers being out if you're compensating and treating them fairly. And I do agree with this teacher. Why are you having to pay drivers to come to work? You're having to pay drivers to come to work because you're not paying them appropriately at the beginning. There also was some discord up here. I don't believe anybody knows where the money's going. I'm sitting here listening to someone thinking teachers are getting step raises. No, they're not. No, neither are drivers. I've been here for 8 years. I make $12.30. A regular sub driver who just gets off the road makes $11.71. That is because I've never received a step raise since I've been here. I've been given what he proposes, a straight across the board raise. And that is very, very upsetting to any employee, because I think each employee wants to be evaluated and assessed on their own efforts and what they are putting forth, and they would expect to be compensated for that. So you being confused on that right there let me know there's not communication, because no, the step raises aren't happening. So when you say 2.5% to someone and you're doing it straight across the board, that doesn't help because you haven't been given a raise in 8 years. You are not being rewarded for anything that you've done. The science department. My daughter is in the biomedical department at Lakeland, so I was going to tell you that's probably why they got the extra dollar, okay? But they don't have stools to sit down. They don't have stools to sit down in there. I came the last meeting, I spoke about a long-term sub for my child being taught math from YouTube. I guess the answer to that was now we moved him to English and now she has a different math teacher. This is ridiculous. This is reactive behavior. This is not proactive behavior. The driver pool is almost depleted. Absolutely, almost depleted. I think we saw on the day that the drivers did not come to school what possibly could happen if you don't have drivers. And the only reason why parents were so kind to you guys on those days, I know for a fact my parents, they supported me. Most of them chose not to send their kids to school that day. They're upset too. They're not here, a lot of them, because they're at home trying to raise their kids and feed them, especially the little ones that get home after 5 o'clock, who are in the 4th tier schools, which I'm dropping off 4-year-olds at 5:05. That's why they're not here. So we wonder where some of these problems are coming from. I speak as a parent. We have to lead from here. This is where it starts. It starts here, and we're not leading from here. It's real easy to keep pushing the paper and blaming one another, but somebody has to stand up and say something's wrong. We need to do what's right. And I ask all of you to really look deep down inside and see, would you be okay with this? Would you be okay with this if this was your child? And when I say your child, I say your child as an adult who's maybe driving the school bus or teaching a student. Would you feel this was fair for them? Is that how you were treated over the years as you aspired and went forward in your career? This is unacceptable. And the change can start with us. And the blame has to stop. And people need to stand up and speak out. This is ridiculous. It's actually very hurting. It really is, because we're all people, and people should be compassionate to one another. People should be able to understand and give back. And I know these teachers and principals are working hard, but you've even put them in awkward positions. Principals know we're right, but what do they say? Really, what do they say? It's time to take a look. And I say this as a driver, and I say this as a parent. Enough is enough. Don't let it get too far.
Thank you. Any other member like to speak to?
Good evening, school board members and superintendent. I am Aaron Burgess, live at 201 Kilby Avenue in Suffolk. Once again, I hope you have heard and not listened tonight, because once again, the heart of your staff has been poured out. I am very aware of the blame game, and it goes across the board. But let's go back to elementary school and what we taught our children. For every finger that you point, there's 3 fingers coming back. And the first step to making a difference is to begin with yourself and to examine yourself. We talk about giving a raise across the board. But why are we not looking at giving funding across the board in various subjects? How is that fair? Where one subject gets more than another subject, who are you going to blame for that? Education will take you further than athletics. And I am a fan of athletics because I am a coach, and I coach in your schools. We talk about raises across the board, but what you're doing is you're losing experience. Look at your numbers. The average experienced teachers in Suffolk Public Schools has been decreasing. And it's these experienced teachers that are staying after hours, that are investing their own personal time without getting any compensation to make sure your accreditation rates come up, your passing rates come up. They are investing their money because obviously they're not getting the money. Now, when you look at your numbers, say that there are raises across the board. But once again, I agree with the teacher that says audit. Now, individuals can try to go through the Freedom of Information Act, but they will be bucked. But as the old saying goes, there's more than one way to skin a cat. The money is there, and if you would actually look and audit, you'll see that majority of the money is going to central office, where they get a steady raise, and where they will change the title to get a very significant raise. You said that the superintendent hadn't got a raise, got to give him comparable, but look at the numbers. Every year, he's got a raise. That's your numbers. It's not numbers I made up. It's not numbers I got out of a local media or newspaper. That comes from your office, central office. So we're going to change titles so those in our clique can get a bigger raise, but those that are doing the dirty work, sweating, bleeding, crying, or being overlooked. That's not right. Who can you blame for that but yourself? Once again, you must take care of the team, so the team will take care of the leadership. That's basic leadership 101. Now, I've extended invitations to sit down and talk with all of you. Only one of you has took my request, and it was very beneficial. So, Mr. Micknett, thank you for your time. The rest of you have ignored me, blew me off, or not even took the invitation. And you know who I am because you have watched the videos that have been posted. You have commented on it after school board meetings. And I can also tell by the looks you give as we walk in. See, the issue is not just money, it's a morale thing. And you have to look at the morale of your schools. It's not that high. Because anybody that speaks out, you give them the looks that you give me. Or you try to blackball them from working. Or you send intimidation tactics to them through administration. I know that because I have been told personally. See, by opening this box, a lot of information has been shared. I hope that you are hearing that information, and I hope you will do something that is better, that is more beneficial. But once again, I'll end with this because I know my time is up. You'll never accomplish anything you don't put forth the effort to achieve. Effort cannot be blamed on anybody else but yourself. So what effort are you going to put in to better this situation? And my question is, if you don't get the additional $2 million, what's the plan with the budget? If it's only additional $1.5 million, what is your strategic plan? How are you going to be more accountable and transparent, not only with your staff, but with citizens? Thank you. God bless.
Any other member of the community to talk before the board here? Any other member to talk? If not, we'll go ahead on with the board meeting, please. Business by board members. We'll start with
I don't have anything. Thank you.
I just, again, want to say congratulations to the Kings Fork honor graduates. We were very proud of them and the work that they have done in our community, and I'm glad we're continuing with the community service initiative. I think it has a lot to be said for our community. And that's all I have.
Ms. Skeeter.
I don't have anything.
Mr. Mitnick.
I'd like to thank those that came out and spoke this evening. You didn't fall on deaf ears. I know I was paying attention, and I'm sure each of the persons up here in the dais were paying attention. I look forward to seeing what we could do. After the first time you spoke in March, there has been a lot of emphasis put on listening to the teachers, getting feedback from them, getting answers for them, and we're making baby steps, but at least we're stepping in the right direction. And I thank those of you who take the time out of your day to want to sit and talk with someone. And I am available. I will come and talk with you. I cannot guarantee answers. Ms. Story, last year when we talked, I could not guarantee answers, but I did refer you where I knew I had to refer you. And, you know, we're all in this together. And, you know, when we talk about team, you know, we are a team, and our team does the best that we can do. And I thank you for listening. That's it.
Dr. Buck.
Well, I'm very proud of the students who graduated and their accomplishments this evening. I'd add to that comment. I would say that It's been an interesting process these last 3 months. We've had a lot of budget season distractions. We began with an article that was false. We've added to that a huge amount of rhetoric. We've looked at a body that has no authority to tax or to bring in extra funds. When I look at what we've done and how we've done it in all situations, I've never been invited by anybody to come to a meeting except a teacher, and I sent a note back to say I'd be glad to, and didn't hear from anybody anymore. I was invited to a bus drivers meeting a few years ago because I know one of the bus drivers. On the administrative side, with regard to my duties as a board member, policy is the emphasis that I have. Policy is what I've done. Policy is what I know to do because I've trained superintendents. I leave the authority for doing the kinds of day-to-day operations to the people that we pay to do that. When we've been underfunded, it's been interesting that people have made reference to council members and talking to council because they are our funders. It would take a penny in tax, and I want you to hear this because I got it from council folks, a penny in tax to give us a step raise. A penny. If, and I'd be willing to pay that. I'm also a citizen of Suffolk, a taxpayer. When I have $5 and I tell you I need $10 to do a job, I don't need direction about how to spend my $5 when I've explained fully and in great detail what $10 is needed for. And if it's not given, then I have to figure out what to do with my $5. Since I've been on this board, every year, we've had to refigure what we've done with what we haven't been given. And every year we try to do that. We've put in many things that we called innovations or thought that they were good ways to do whatever we needed to do to make sure everybody got some share of the pie. And when I say teachers, that's a generic term that doesn't leave out bus drivers, teachers, aides, custodians, or whatever, because from where I am, everybody's on the team. I want to make that clear. I think that the blame game is a cute phrase for some folks. I really do. I've heard that phrase not just tonight, but in several venues. And that's interesting, but our funding comes from council, from the state, and from the federal government. If everybody doesn't put in their share, we have to work with what we have, and we've done a good job of that. Everybody has their own priorities, and I'm sure we'll work and focus on that. We hear everybody's concerns. I would suggest to those people who are going to work every day, be they bus drivers, administrative staff, 85% of our money goes to payroll and benefits. I'd suggest to you that you keep on doing the good job that you're doing. I would encourage you, whether you pick up children in the morning or whether you cook their food or clean their rooms or you're the principal or whatever in the school, to keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Bransky,
Okay, go ahead.
could I say something? I did not respond because we are not supposed to respond. This is a public hearing. It's not a time for debate. But I think that some of the accusations that were made specifically against me are very unwarranted. And I did look into everything that you asked me to. And I'll be very happy to explain to you again why that money is the way it is. I would like to throw one thing out to you. We have to spend $100,000 this past year to transport the homeless to our schools. That is a federal mandate. We don't budget for that. I mean, we have no idea how much we're going to have to spend. It's a federal mandate. So I think that some of the things that you're saying are really not fair. But I'll leave it at that right now because I don't want this to be a debate. This is supposed to be a hearing.
Mr. Copeland.
I don't have any comment.
No comments. I don't have any comments either, but I will say this, that I appreciate you coming here. We will take your concerns into our heads when we talk about this budget hearing, budget process coming up. I know that some of you are frustrated. I can feel it myself right now. I feel what you're going through, and I too feel that there is some hope for us here. Yeah, I hope we can work together to get this budget hearing done properly and get it to resolve the best way we can. And if anybody wants to contact me and they don't get me on my email, please call me on my cell phone. It's listed in the school board minutes, and you can go. If you can't get me on my email, call me on my cell phone. Go ahead, Dr. Whitney.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to say a few words. First of all, I'll say to all citizens and staff members, I pride myself in having an open door policy. And what that means is at any time that anyone wants to set up a meeting to go over the budget item by item and ask your questions, please don't hesitate to do that. I think it's a little misleading sometimes when we look at the budget and we think we know what that represents versus asking the people who would have the answers, and I'm the one who would have the answer. I'm not suggesting that perhaps we have not allocated enough or as much, but I do think it's important to realize that we are meeting the needs of our students, and I think that's evident by what we saw tonight with our honor grads. More importantly, though, I think because I know you as a board are probably concerned about science in general, science, biology, or whatever the sciences, I think it will be important for me to bring back an inventory of what we have in our science department, as well as what we've purchased specifically in the science department from school by school, because I think it's important to make certain that we recognize what we have done and what we are doing. The other piece is about salaries. I can't say enough that I think that everyone deserves an increase. I say that sincerely based on the fact that I see the work that people have done. I've been in this division. I'm committed to this division. There is no higher tier of let's give these folks raises and not give the others, because I know we're all in this together and we're only going to be as good as those who are actually working directly with students and children. I also will suggest to anyone that if you're confused about whether you have had an increase or when your last increase was, and some people have taken us up on this, you can call the Department of Finance and look to see what your salaries has been over the years. It's not to suggest that it's been a great increase, but to suggest that they've not had any increase over the last 8 or whatever years is simply not accurate. Now, I, too, don't want to get into a back and forth. I'm more interested in how can we improve the system? How can we improve the system as a team? So, again, I invite any citizen, I invite any council member, board member, any student, because I have a student advisor, to come and talk to me to say, let me ask you these questions. Yes, we did put out Q&A today. We put out Q&A for our teachers, meetings that we've had. We put out a Q&A for our bus drivers. It wasn't a matter of let's do it so that you can respond to it. It's a matter of being able to accurately answer them. As one presenter suggested, there were lots of questions for the teacher input question, and we want to accurately answer them as well. You may not agree with all the answers, but those are the answers. Whether we can change them, perhaps we can as a team with suggestions and so forth. But I do, again, I invite everyone or anyone to set up a time to meet with me. If it's questions about the budget, if it's a question about materials and supplies, please don't hesitate to do just that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Board members, if you look at the informational items, please, at this time, and check them out and see what we need to do with any of them, if they need to be changed or moved. Informational items. There's no action on those. Okay, let's go to action on closed meeting items.
Mr. Chair, I move that the personnel report be adopted.
Second.
Board Member Bouchard?
Yes.
Board Member Brooks Buck?
Yes.
Board Member Byram?
Yes.
Board Member Mednick?
Yes.
Board Member Skeeter?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Copeland?
Aye.
Chairman Dobransky?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Pupil personnel report.
Mr. Chair, I move that the pupil personnel report be adopted.
Second?
Board Member Bouchard?
Yes.
Board Member Brooks Buck?
Yes.
Board Member Byram?
Yes.
Board Member Mednick?
Yes.
Board Member Skeeter?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Copeland?
Aye.
Chairman Dobransky?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Student Appeal 1617-5.
Mr. Chair, I move that the student appeal 16/17-5 be denied.
Second?
Board Member Bouchard?
Yes.
Board Member Brooks Buck?
Yes.
Board Member Byram?
Yes.
Board Member Mitnick?
Yes.
Board Member Skeeter?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Copeland?
Aye.
Chairman Dobransky?
Yes.
Motion carried.
No further business. I declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you for coming.